Just had a nice breakfast. Beautiful camp here. Antelope all over the place, and just gonna head to the range right now, get a little bit of work done there, make sure everything's good to go, and get out here and see what we can do this morning. Not eager for the hunt to be done too fast, but take what I can get, and seems to be plenty of animals around, so I don't think we're gonna have too much trouble finding some antelope at least, but getting one on the ground is always another story. All right, so I've put eyes on this bachelor group of bucks, and there's one in particular that I'd be really glad to get a shot on. And so we just kind of did a wide circle using the Yamaha just to get a look at the lay of the land. If we can get over there without getting busted, I think there's probably the best antelope of my life sitting right over there right now. So I'm pretty excited. You know, I've been chasing these animals for 10 years now, and every time I go out, I try to do a little bit better. I try to get closer. I try to shoot a bigger animal. I just try to be an all-around better hunter. And these pronghorn antelope, they push a guy to do that, and today was a perfect example. We were on antelope from the get-go, but they schooled us immediately. Right after that, they schooled us again, They're just not easy animals to get close enough to shoot. And so you're gonna be running around out here and your work is gonna be cut out for you, but every second is worth it. Every bit of the excitement is worth it. We had an encounter earlier today that almost panned out, but I just wasn't comfortable taking the shot. But I was rewarded. 4 hours later, we spotted another herd out on this flat. They were bedded down, just used the terrain to my advantage, slipped in, poked a shot down from the top of a ridge, 160 yards. This guy went down. I shouldn't even say he went down. I shot him right in his bed. He never even knew what hit him, and what better way to put an ending on a great animal like this.
In 2004, I drew a moose tag, and I came out here scouting, and I ran into this guy, and he gave me a guy's name. Well, I got to talking to him, and the outfitter and him, they gave me an offer I couldn't turn down. They had never had a moose hunter, and they wanted one, and they wanted a picture of a moose for their brochure. So came out, did that guided hunt, and then the guy that guided me started his own outfitting business a couple years later and started working for him, and did that for 12 or 13 years. I just retired from guiding this fall, and I've been full-time with this taxidermy business since 2002. I lived in Minnesota. I would come out here from Minnesota in end of August, and I'd be here till the middle of November every fall, then I'd go back home. There wasn't a taxidermist in Kaycee, and it is a small town, but there's quite a few outfitters around here. It's right off the interstate. I found this building that was for sale, and I thought it would work pretty good. I bought the lot next to me, and I keep a horse there all wintertime. Not many towns you can keep a horse on Main Street, so I mean, I love Minnesota, don't get me wrong, but I like it out here way better.
This is actually the first big game animal of my season. I'm excited because we got fresh meat in the house, or soon will. It's really the start of kind of the meat trail, the annual meat trail for me. I've got 3 kids. We eat only wild game, and so I'm not only hunting, but I'm bringing groceries home. One of my favorite things is when we butcher, we put obviously the animal, we put the cut of the meat, but then we put where it's from. You know, whether it's a specific drainage around our place or a different state if I'm lucky enough to go out of state. So in some ways we're also, we're eating that place. To me, that's the great connection that wild game brings to us too. I'm psyched about this antelope. Beautiful meat, she died in her tracks, so the meat should be just beautiful. Antelope is the finest grain. You can even just see this just beautiful, finely grained meat. It's got kind of a sweetness to it, but it's just got a juice and a juiciness when you cook it right, that just maintains its flavor. It's beautiful, fine meat. Every time we have beef, I live in ranch country and neighbors have us over, we have their beef quite a bit or have a steak in a restaurant. It just seems so heavy. This meat is so light and it's so varied in terms of what you can do with it that it'll be part of our diet when the grandkids come home.
I can't even begin to count the number of times I've come across folks who say that the front shoulders of wild game animals, especially antelope, are unusable, or that there's not enough meat on them, or that it's just all tendons or this or that, and excuse after excuse. But I'm going to tell you right now that the front shoulders are damn good if you cook them right. And in this case, the way that I'm going to prepare it, you're going to see the reaction on everybody's faces when they eat it. It's going to be phenomenal. So first thing is cleaning up the meat, getting some of the bloodshot areas off, removing the hair, making sure you have a nice pile of meat and bone in front of you, and then you're going to salt and pepper it, and then we're going to head to the smoker. All right, so this is the second step in this process. You're going to take all that shoulder meat, you're going to toss it on the smoker, give it a good smoke ring. I'm running at 220 degrees for about an hour approximately. You don't need to cook the meat here because we're going to finish cooking the meat during the braising process in a Dutch oven. All right, these shoulders just came off the smoker. You can see that they've got a pretty nice smoke ring established around them, but the meat is still extremely rare. And that's exactly what you want here. You're replacing the searing that you would normally do like in a cast iron skillet. You're replacing that with the smoking process to get that outer crust on there that's going to have that smoky flavor. So once you're done with the smoking process, you bring them into the Dutch ovens. In this case, I'm using bacon grease from some leftover bacon we had for breakfast this morning. I'm going to add the pieces of meat right to these Dutch ovens. In this case, with an antelope, with this size of Dutch oven, one shoulder fits really well in one Dutch oven, so we're going to have two of these bad boys rolling. We're going to have them on low heat. Once you got the meat in there, you're going to want to situate it so that everything fits in there nicely. And then you're going to want to come over and grab the core ingredients that really make this recipe shine. I've got stewed tomatoes, balsamic vinegar, crushed red pepper, Worcestershire sauce, and fresh minced garlic. It's that simple. All I'm going to do, dump everything right over that beautiful shoulder meat. Do about 1.5 cans, including the juices, of these stewed tomatoes. These are 28-ounce cans, but what you're going to want to do is make sure the meat is approximately 3/4 submerged in whatever type of liquid and seasoning that you're going to be using for the braising process, because that meat is going to stay super moist with all that juicy stuff you're adding in there. All right, so I've got the stewed tomatoes in. Now I'll just sort of eye up the Worcestershire sauce and the balsamic vinegar. You don't need too much. This is some potent stuff. And as this is cooking in here with the lid on, all the flavors of these ingredients are going to work their way into the meat. Next, I'm going to come in with the balsamic vinegar. Again, this is some potent stuff, so you don't need a tremendous amount. Just kind of eye it up. Be sensible about it. I'm going to go with some crushed red pepper here, depending on how spicy you want it. And last but not least, split this nice pile of minced garlic that I have among both of these. And there you have it. Gonna let this slow cook with the lid on for approximately 3 hours. You're gonna wanna run it somewhere around 300 degrees. Sometimes the temperature can be difficult to monitor if you're cooking it on a camp stove like this. The best way to do it is in an oven. We are gonna improvise here with these Dutch ovens. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, and I'm gonna keep the burners on low, and that'll get us just about where we need to be to cook this for 3 hours. And when it's done, the meat's gonna be falling off the bone, and everybody in this camp is gonna be coming over here with their spoons trying to clean out these Dutch ovens when it's all over with, because they're gonna fall in love with these antelope shoulders. You know, this has been just another one of those adventures that I continue to look forward to year after year. I hunted this ranch a couple of years ago, and you know, the whole western United States is really special to me for big game hunting and just hunting all around, but this place holds a special spot in my heart just because it's such a beautiful ranch and it's managed so well. The guy who runs this operation, Jim Schiermiester, has been actively managing his wildlife populations here. So a couple years ago there were only 20 mule deer. Now there's a dang near thriving population of 40 to 60 animals. He does all sorts of programs for the wildlife to get them through the winter, and he puts in water structures, and he does all these things that a conscientious, conservation-minded private landowner does to contribute to the wildlife. And these animals are out here running free, so they're not just sitting here on his private property all the time. They're coming and going from private to public, so essentially everybody benefits from efforts like this with the type of stuff that Jim is doing here as a private landowner. And the hunt was great. I came back and it was just like I remembered it, but probably even a little bit better. And I'm already thinking about my next trip out here to hunt the Schiermiester Ranch here in Kaycee, Wyoming.